Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting at the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors. For the second month, the board is back to meeting in person at the San Bruno Senior Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. As we are still adapting to the hybrid format, we appreciate your patience if we have any technical issues. We are utilizing an owl camera today and only have 2 microphones, one at the podium and one at the stand in front of the board. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the microphones can pick up and that our online guests, as well as everyone in the room, can hear you well. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you, members of the public who are here at the Senior Center in person. If you would like to speak during public comment for items not on the agenda or on any of our agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you are attending on Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or on any of our agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to talk, and she will let me know that you are waiting. When it is your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you are joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9, and the executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agenda item. Also note that prior to the meeting, did we receive any emails? No, okay. So let's begin the meeting. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors of April 5th, 2023 to order. Raul, if you could please, Secretary Gomez, if you please call roll.
Absolutely. Board Member Irving Torres. Here. Board Member Supriya Berry.
Here.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez is here. Vice President Jim Royne. Here. President Melissa Jones.
Here. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
I don't see any on Zoom.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 4, recognition of Dr. Melissa Moreno for her service on the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors.
Not on Zoom, yeah.
Not on Zoom yet. So should we skip this item or just others? Okay. Due to a conflicting engagement, Melissa Moreno is unable to join us in person tonight, but she is planning to attend via Zoom. She is not with us on yet, so we will move on with the agenda for now and return to her presentation once she has arrived. We will go now to item 4B. Recognition of San Bruno City Manager Javon Rogan for his services to the San Bruno community and his support of the San Bruno Community Foundation. Tonight, we also say thank you and farewell to 2 important members of the city leadership team, both of whom will be departing from the city at the end of next week. First, we recognize City Manager Javon Rogan. Since 2018, Javon has ably led the city of San Bruno as city manager, most notably through the COVID-19 pandemic and in seeing the recreation and aquatic center project progress from a vision to a building that is rising before our eyes. I have personally witnessed the effectiveness of Javon's calm demeanor, big picture perspective, and commitment to the San Bruno community. As most of you know, Javon was recently appointed to become the city manager of the city of Santa Clara, and in that role, he will also serve as the executive director of the Santa Clara Stadium Authority and can be responsible for oversight of Silicon Valley Power and Santa Clara's electric utility and the Santa Clara Convention Center. Go Niners. Javon, it has been a pleasure to know and work with you, and you will truly be missed. I'm honored on behalf of the board to recognize you, Jovan, with a proclamation from the San Bruno Community Foundation. So I'm just going to read this proclamation. Whereas Jovan Brogan was ably served as the city of San Bruno as city manager with integrity, commitment, and distinction since 2018. Whereas city manager Jovan Brogan has provided invaluable leadership to the city, keeping the city's finances fiscally sound, managing a complex city bureaucracy on a daily basis, and helping the city endure and then recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas city manager Jovan Brogan has been an indispensable partner in the foundation's efforts to enhance the quality of life for the entire San Bruno community, including overseeing the annual Community Day as a celebration for all San Bruno, efforts to support the effectiveness of the city's first responders, including the acquisition of a mobile command vehicle, plans to develop Centennial Plaza into a usable community downtown gathering space, and most notably, the construction of the new San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center in San Bruno City Park. Whereas city manager Jovan Brogan has provided prudent and wise counsel regarding the foundation's activities, as the foundation has launched programs and sought to fulfill its mission to benefit the San Bruno community over the long term. And whereas city manager Jovan Brogan's innumerable contributions to the city of San Bruno and foundation and its efforts to benefit the San Bruno community will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, on behalf of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors, I, Melissa Nathane Jones, officially recognize Jovan Brogan and express our sincere appreciation for his dedication to the foundation and the San Bruno community, and wish him and his family the best in all future endeavors. Dated this 5th day of April, 2023. Would any other board members like to say a few words?
I would like to, just briefly, it's been a real pleasure. You walked into some tough situations that got us out of those situations, and just look right down the street what we're doing and accomplishing. It's good stuff. So I hope it's a fair weather place you're going to with all these stadiums and all the stuff that's happening down there. So you'll do very well. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you as well. My name is Raul Gomez. I actually met you in 2018. I was on the 7-Eleven committee. Actually, we were doing site tours, and I remember meeting you at the district office and thinking, this guy is really going to make a difference here in San Bruno. I was absolutely correct, pleasantly. And just want to say thank you again for all of the hard work that you've done. I was born and raised here in this city, so it means a lot to me, and all of the difference that you did make, again, straight to my heart. So thank you. And again, you know, Santa Clara's gain is our loss. So I can look forward to again seeing great things coming out of Santa Clara, out of your shop. So thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the public?
Thank you. Hi, John, city manager. No, I just want to say thank you. San Bruno is amazingly lucky to have a community foundation. Very few communities have a community foundation, and this is my first time working with a community foundation, but your partnership, your vision, and your stewardship to, as Jim Ruane said, making sure something wonderful comes from a very tragic situation cannot be understated. And so COVID fog is real. I cannot believe that the majority of my nearly 5-year tenure here has been during COVID-19. And thank you for the proclamation. Reading it and hearing it reminded me of some of the things that we have as a city team and as a foundation work through for the betterment of this community. And I want to personally just thank Leslie, your executive director, for all of her partnership and work over these nearly 5 years. It's been a pleasure to work with this community, work with the foundation. I will stay in San Bruno. My wife and I are keeping our residence here. And this is an absolutely wonderful community, and thank you to the entire city team for letting me be the steward and supporting everything that we've done. Thank you.
On to the recognition of San Bruno Community Services Director Ann Mottola for her services to the San Bruno community and her support to the San Bruno Community Foundation. We must also say thank you and farewell to Ann Mottola. Ann joined the city of San Bruno as Director of Community Services in 2020 and been a critical partner with the foundation on so many of our strategic initiatives. The Recreation and Aquatic Center project, the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project, and the city's annual Community Day. Ann will be taking on the role of Director of Community Services for the Golden Rain Foundation, overseeing sports and recreation programs and facilities, counseling services, public safety, and capital projects for the active adult community of Rossmore and Walnut Creek. Had an opportunity to work with you, Ann. I'm so grateful that we've had that. So we thank you for all you've done for San Bruno, especially in preparation for the opening of the RAF later this year, and we wish you the best in your next endeavor. I am honored on behalf of the board to recognize you, Ann, with a proclamation from the San Bruno Community Foundation. And it reads, whereas Ann Mottola has served as the Director of Community Services for the City of San Bruno with honor, integrity, and distinction since 2020. Whereas Director Mottola has been an invaluable partner of the San Bruno Community Foundation and his aim to fulfill its mission to benefit the San Bruno community as a nonprofit organization created by the city to administer the $70 million in restitution funds resulting from the devastating 2010 gas pipeline explosion in San Bruno's Crestmore neighborhood. Whereas the foundation has worked with Director Mottola and the Community Services Department to carry out many of its most significant strategic initiatives, including a relaunch of Community Day, renovation of Centennial Plaza in downtown San Bruno, and the design and construction of the new Recreation and Aquatic Center in San Bruno City Park. Whereas the Foundation's Board of Directors appreciate Director Mottola's commitment to collaboration, her advocacy, and the activities of the Community Services Department, her management of the city's library, recreation programs, parks and facilities, and her leadership and unwavering dedication as a key member of the city's leadership team overseeing the Recreation and Aquatic Center project. And whereas Director Mottola's numerous contributions to the city of San Bruno, the foundation and its efforts to benefit the San Bruno community will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, on behalf of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors, I, Melissa Netane Jones, officially recognize Ann Mottola and express our sincere appreciation for her dedication to the foundation and the San Bruno community, and with her best in all future endeavors. Dated this 5th day of April, 2023. Any of the board members like to say a few words?
Through the chair, if I may. So Ann, you stepped right into it and took charge, and it was just a real pleasure. We had a lot going on at the time, and COVID hit, all the stuff you had to deal with, and the community day downtown has just been a real gem. And I hope to see you in the fall, right, Rob? Right. When we cut the ribbon here, because you're a big part of what we've accomplished and what we've achieved. So thank you so very, very much.
Any other board members? Any comments from the public? Yes.
I wanted to really let you all know is how every time I came to the board, and it was many times because of the partnership on the different projects, I really remarked on the amazing work that you do in the committee, in the community. And as much as you've given to this city proper, I've always enjoyed, particularly with the community grants that you award, and just watching the impact that you have. And I want you all to know that this work is so appreciated, it really is a grounding presence. And what's also the grounding presence, which I've spoken about so much, is through all of the tumult and the turnover of staff in this community, this foundation has been there, and some of you on the foundation have been there from the beginning, like just shepherding this very significant project down the road through. And Javon mentioned it, you're an extraordinary board. I've worked with many different types of boards like this in other cities, but your engagement, your professionalism, I think the leadership by Leslie is outstanding, and she's been an amazing partner. We've had so many long conversations to talk about collaborations. And I'm going to work for a nonprofit, and you have set the bar so high, and I hope that I experience that same type of rapport and collaborative relationship as I move forward into my next chapter. So thank you. I have been honored to work with you in every program. And you really are the heart of San Bruno to me, with the inspiration for the little fans. So thank you, and keep on doing the great work that you're doing. And I'm sure I'll be back to follow up in fall of 2023.
You will.
Thank you.
Is on. Okay, there she is.
Hi, Melissa. So we're going to go back to our presentation in recognition of Dr. Melissa Moreno for her service on the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. Tonight, we must say farewell to a member of our foundation family, and we just are so happy that you're able to join us tonight, Melissa, for this. As you know, Melissa Moreno resigned from the foundation board as of April 1st, as she has taken on the new role of interim chancellor of the San Mateo County Community College District. Our loss is the Community College District's gain. We asked Melissa to join us for tonight's meeting so that we could properly show our appreciation for all that you've done for the foundation and for the San Bruno community. Although she's only been with us a short time, Melissa has made a big impression on all of us who have had the privilege to serve with her on the foundation board. It is my pleasure now on behalf of the board to recognize Melissa with a proclamation from the San Bruno Community Foundation.
That's for the open number one.
I'm sorry?
She received a package today.
Oh, you received a package today. You have it with you?
Yeah.
So open number one.
Can you open number one? Not number two, not number five, just number one. Whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno served as a member of the Board of Directors of the San Bruno Community Foundation from January 2022 to March 2023, demonstrating integrity, commitment, and distinction as one of the foundation's leaders. Whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno served on the ad hoc committee on the program development, which recommended the foundation's continued support of Community Day and provided guidance on strategic grant-making priorities. Whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno served on the ad hoc committee on Centennial Plaza, which led to an important partnership with the city of San Bruno to renovate Centennial Plaza into a usable community gathering space downtown San Bruno. Whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno served on the audit committee overseeing the annual audit of the foundation's financial statements. Whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno has demonstrated leadership, vision, and commitment to the education of all community members as president of Skyline College. Whereas her colleagues on the board of directors have valued Dr. Melissa Moreno as a trusted colleague who brought a collaborative spirit, shrewd business advice, fairness, broad perspective, and a commitment to underrepresented segments of the San Bruno community. And whereas Dr. Melissa Moreno's many contributions to the foundation as thriving nonprofit dedicated to benefiting the San Bruno community will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, on behalf of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors, I, Melissa Nathaniel Jones, officially recognize Dr. Melissa Moreno and express our sincere appreciation for for her dedication to the foundation and the San Bruno community and wish her the best in all future endeavors. Dated this 5th day of April, 2023.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, can you please open number 2?
Oh,
So is cutting board, and there is a heart denoting the city with a heart over where San Bruno is located on the map of California. Before I turn the floor over to Melissa, would any of our board members like to say a few words?
Yeah, I would, Melissa, it was great working with you. The only sad part is that, we were under COVID mostly the whole time, and I only got to really physically see you a few times, and those few times were just extraordinary. Working with you was phenomenal. I learned so much from you working beside you, and really miss working, along with you on this, community foundation. So best of luck to you in your future endeavors, and again, you'll look sort of.
Through the chair, thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun. I served on some subcommittees with you and brought some action, for the full board. It was a lot of fun. And I know it's a lot of work, but you had a huge job despite the foundation. And, I just want to wish you well going forward with an even bigger job. So congratulations.
thank you.
Through the chair, Melissa, it's been a pleasure. As one of the newest members, it's bittersweet, but as President Tommy Jones mentioned, it's the community college district's gain. It's just been a phenomenal, experience working alongside you, learning from you. I think the questions that you were asked was always insightful, but also it just came from the heart, and maybe just realize that just that representation that you brought in, especially being the president of Skyline College. Again, best of luck to you as the interim chancellor, and I appreciate always your blogs as well, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Dr. Moreno, it has been a privilege to be on this board with you. You are, I just echo everything that the other board members have mentioned. And your dedication to kids and to community is just an example and exemplary, and so happy for you, and it's sad that I missed seeing you in person last month, but best and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Melissa, I just want to echo again, first, congratulations on such an endeavor, and echoing everyone's comment here. You have been, I've always found your comments very insightful, and you've been quite an inspiration, even though I haven't had a chance to get to know you very closely. So I just want to say thank you for what you have done and what you have contributed. And good luck.
Thank you.
It's good to have one Melissa on the board, but having two. I'm just kidding. Dr. Moreno, it was a pleasure to serve alongside with you. I certainly appreciate your insight, your expertise, and your experience in bringing that to the board to really help us be true servants of this community. I'm also sad to see you go. However, all the more to the rest of the county and our colleges that really need the support and a strong leader like yourself. So wishing you the best of luck, stay connected, and thank you so much again for your service on the board.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the public? Okay. Melissa?
Thank
would
you.
like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. So, in so many ways, I feel like I had just gotten started with this board. This has been one of the most incredible experiences of a career. This board has an amazing purpose and vision, and it was just my absolute honor and privilege to work alongside my colleagues, Melissa, Jim, Raul, Pac, Supriya, and a special recognition of Leslie because of her excellence in leadership and making our service so much easier. And it is with a broken heart that I leave this group, because I love this group. I loved this work, and I learned so much from each of you as well. And so it's bittersweet, because I'm moving into a new role that I hope I can have as much impact now in the county as I did in the Skyline College surrounding communities. And it's just been a great honor, and I was so honored and privileged to have been selected to work alongside each of you. And I just think it's a great opportunity for someone new to step in and have the opportunity to serve with this foundation. It's just so close to my heart, this work. And I thank you so much for recognizing me. I didn't expect this, but and it's just very humbling. And so thank you so much, and know that I will always support you and be part of this community work. So I hope you reach out if you need anything from me in my new role as interim chancellor of the San Mateo County Community College District. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, Melissa, and again to Joanne and Ann, thank you so much. We're going to move on to item number 5, approval of minutes from the March 1st, 2023 regular board meeting. I'll turn the time over to you, Secretary Gomez.
Thank you. So in your meeting packet are meeting minutes from our regular board meeting of March 1st, 2023. Any board members have questions from our minutes? Like that, so turn back to you.
Okay, but any members of the public like to comment on this item? Leslie, are there any hands from our Zoom? Okay. If there are no questions or comments from the board, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Turn it over to you, Secretary Gomez, for a roll call vote.
Board member Irving Torres. Aye. Board member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pac Lynn.
Aye.
I'm in the aye. Vice President Jim Wayne.
Aye.
President Melissa Napani Jones.
Aye. Thank you very much. We will move over to item number 6 for the Executive Director's report. I'll turn that over to Leslie.
Thank you and good evening. It's great to see everyone here tonight. In your packets is my written report, and I just want to give a couple of highlights orally. First of all, you all already have put on your name badges, but we got those for you now that we are actually meeting back in person, and you may be out in the community more representing the foundation. So we wanted to make sure you could identify yourself. So glad to see you all have them on. Just a quick update on the foundation board appointments process, since as we just saw, we have an opening with Dr. Moreno's resignation from the board. In addition to that opening, the terms of 3 board members, President Natani Jones, Vice President Ruane, and Secretary Gomez, their first term will conclude at the end of this calendar year, and they are all eligible to serve an additional 4-year term if they so choose at that point. and are reappointed. They're eligible to reapply and get appointed by the city council. Under our bylaws, the San Bruno City Council is the body responsible for making board appointments. And under the process they put in place in December, the council will review all of the applications and conduct interviews. 2 members of the foundation board will be invited to participate in interviews. And then the council will make the final determination of who is put on the board. The application for applying for the open seat as well as the seats at the end of the year is now posted on the city's website. And I'm working with the city clerk's office to update the brochure we created in the last round that gives more explanation about the responsibilities of serving on the foundation board, since we are different from the city's boards, commissions, and committees. So there's a special pamphlet that will explain the duties of our board and the obligations. The application deadline is May 5th. And assuming the city clerk receives enough applications, the council will likely do interviews for all 4 seats in the coming months and make those appointments during the summer. The last item I wanted to highlight is our board meeting schedule. As you know, our regular schedule is the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. here at the Senior Center. Pre-pandemic, we were sensitive to your time and only met at those regular meetings when we had business that we needed to conduct that month. And given the flow of our work, there often are months where we don't need to necessarily meet. And so we may be canceling a couple of meetings along the way going forward, since we don't now have to do the monthly meeting declaring an emergency in order to have the Zoom meetings. So there is a chance we will not meet in May, because given our cycle, we may not have any business. So as of now, it's still on, but if it looks like we don't have any pressing business, our May meeting will be canceled, and then we'll meet again June 7th, which is a very big meeting, because that's when the scholarship winners will be recognized. So that is a big meeting. So that is my report for today. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, are there any hands raised via Zoom?
No.
Okay, great. We will now move on to item number 7, consent calendar. We have 3 items on the consent calendar today as listed on the agenda. With regard to item 7B, adopt resolution adjusting executive director's compensation. State law requires all public agencies to orally announce the terms of recommended executive compensation adjustments before voting on them. In recognition of her outstanding service to the foundation, Executive Director Leslie Jaramillo will receive a 5% cost of living adjustment to her salary, which will now be at $207,816, retroactive to February 1st of 2023. Upon the board's approval of this item, this will be the first adjustment to her salary since 2020, and there would be no other changes to her compensation at this time. Would any members of the public like to comment on a consent item?
I didn't put it on my speech calendar. May I still speak? Hi, my name is Charles Meyer, and I'm a resident of San Bruno. And when I reviewed it, I realized that it's very difficult to retain highly qualified individuals. However, setting the bar for the executives in a similar fashion to the rank and file workers that make the city work is something that I hope you all thought about, because the optics of having someone move from the 5% to the 4% percentile is kind of striking. So I realize the efforts that the executive director puts out, but having worked in public service myself for 35 years, it just seems like a lot from outside eyes looking in. Thank you so much for accepting my comments.
Are there any other comments from the public?
And then that's it.
None on Zoom. Okay. Unless are there any questions from the board? Unless there's any other questions, I call for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I'll turn the time over to Secretary Gomez for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Board Member Irving Torres. Aye. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Flynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye. Thank you very much, Secretary Gomez. Thank you. Item number 8, conduct of business. To receive a report on the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center for the city of San Bruno and adopt resolution increasing strategic grant funding to the city of San Bruno for construction of the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center project by an amount not to exceed $1,500,000, excuse me. As you know, the foundation is supporting the new San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center with 8 grants totaling $50 million to the city of San Bruno. We've appreciated the regular updates from the city on the project, and we look forward to receiving the latest update tonight. In addition to giving the update, the city project team will request an additional $1.5 million for a construction contingency, which would increase the RAC construction RAC grant number 8 to $41,964,454.15. And the foundation's overall commitment to the project to $51.5 million. The resolution before the board would authorize the executive director to finalize and execute on behalf of the foundation an amendment to the grant agreement for the RAC grant number 8 that increases the grant amount by an amount not to exceed $1.5 million to an amount not to exceed $41,964,464.15. And stipulate that all foundation grant funds that are to be used directly for the construction of the new recreation and aquatic center for the benefit of the community and not for ancillary city projects taking place in San Bruno City Park. Please remember that we were aware that the city might be coming to us for additional funding for the RAC project when we approved the fiscal 22-23 budget last June. The budget includes $5.5 million for strategic grants. Thus far this year, the foundation has approved strategic grants totaling $565,000. So the requested $1.5 million is well below the remaining $4,935,000 budgeted for strategic grants. Tonight, we have a team from the city who will give the presentation led by Project Manager Rod McRugg and Public Works Director Matt Lee. We look forward to hearing your update and to considering your request for additional funds. Rod and Matt.
Thank you for introduction and good evening, members of the foundation. Again, my name is Rod McRugg. I'm the project manager for the San Bruno Recreation Aquatic Center project under construction. Should I keep clicking this? So we do have an agenda. Hopefully everybody can see it. Similar agenda, just a little bit modified. We have some other project updates. We're going to be talking about change order and budget update, of course, the additional funds request at the very end, and we have a project overview and outlook toward the end of the project. Next slide, just to talk about that. Remind us, the project started in September 2021, as you're all aware. We are projecting to complete fall of 2023 with the rain we had. We are projecting late fall of 2023. We're about 58% complete to the end of March. Couple photos down below, just showing the difference between February and March. Really didn't change very much. Still wet, but we're able to put in some of the temporary scaffolding around the building, so we're able to do some work on the exterior part of the building, given the rain that we had. Another photo looking at the, through the earth comes, just another comparison of what we had back in February and March. January and February basically has no change. March is pretty much the scaffolding added around the building. That's why we're able to work on it. Just the aerial shot of the project, we're looking at the building. Of course, we're progressing. We are working on the parking lot. I'm sure you guys have passed by that. We're able to work on the parking lot. You can see it all starting to shape up, or the concrete curb that's being installed. And we all know all the city parkway has been done, including utilities, the creek. We just have to come back and do some of the other work remains to that. Just a front view of the building. There are a lot of work done in the auditorium, gymnasium, given the rain that we had. We tried to do as much as we can do. An auditorium, we completed some of the concrete wall. We got some indoor plumbing into the auditorium. We got some slab concrete pool deck. We start working around the pool deck. In the gymnasium, we got the HVAC duct, mechanical framing, all that's happening. Let me take you inside that to see what's going on. As I mentioned in the auditorium, we got some trench backfilling around the pool deck, utility pool room. We had that working on back in February. This is the month of February. Between the auditorium and the gymnasium, we got some of the slab, vapor barrier and rebar. We got the retaining wall next to the pool. The bottom photo is the indoor pool. We're trying to protect it to keep it from getting wet, soaking wet. So when we get the opportunity, when weather is dry, we can easily just get the plastic out and start digging, basically. So you can see there's a pump in the middle of it, draining the water to make sure we keep it dry. And the last photo is some of the work done on the stairs and the slab work. Gymnasium is the same thing. We continue to work on the framing, mechanical duct work, things like that. And there's a photo of the temporary scaffolding that just got installed. Offsite work, parking lot in February. Yes, we got portion of the parking lot kind of graded and compacted with base rock, so we have half of it protected. We got some of the concrete curb put in, so when we get the weather gets better, we can get back in there and put the parking lot. Looking at March, some of the work that we are working on, we continue that. We completed that wall. We poured some of that concrete stairs. That slab that was there, that was still not poured now, is poured in the month of March. So we gained some progress given the weather we had. And we continue to work inside the building with the framing, duct work. You can see the exterior wall is being framed now. And all those bigger HVAC duct is being installed as well. Parking lot, we're almost at the same position as the month of February. As you can see, still kind of wet. And on the other side of the pool, we're continuing to make do some storm water and site management to contain the water, to keep some of the areas dry and help us to continue to work. Schedule update. You can see we have a lot of rain. The last portion of the fourth quarter and the first quarter, mainly winter months, and spill over a little bit now to the spring, and that affected our completion schedule because of the rain. Good thing we have all the city parkway creek work completed. Those are weather dependent activities that we got done. We hope we continue to work inside the building with all the mechanical framing and all that we're working on. And we're starting to work around the pool area, hoping once the weather gets better, we can go out there and start digging the pool. And basically that's controlling our activities at this point. There's the pool activity. Public outreach, we continue to maintain our website, portable changeable message boards being used for any detour or closure of the road. Detour signs out there as needed. We continue to communicate with Google navigation system as needed. There's a field contact number available on all the signs and city website. We have daily on-site representative available in our trailer office. We always maintain the calls and emails, make sure we answer and address all their questions. As you can see, Crystal Spring is now being closed with tree removal. We're also doing, at the same time, we're doing some of the utility work on Crystal Spring while they have the road closed to minimize the inconvenience. So what's going on in the next 30 days and beyond? So what we expect to do is really get going with the indoor pool. That's the goal we have. Continue working on gymnasium. Hopefully all that crew that working on gymnasium with the mechanical plumbing, framing will move down over to the natatorium after a month or so. And the exterior wall, we hope to see coming up with the drywall inside. We have to see all the exterior sheeting coming up and after 30 days and beyond. So that's what we hope to see when the weather holds. Off-site work, we will continue to do stormwater management. We will complete the Crystal Spring utility work and the tree removal. Restore the strength in Crystal Spring, so we'll be out of Crystal Spring. We'll work on the parking lot. Hopefully, once we get working on the parking lot, we start constructing the truss enclosure and generator, and bring in PG&E power and gas. That's critical to our schedule as well. When things get better, we go back to the creek, repair some of the creek bank, and put in our landscaping, and then put in our pedestrian bridge. You can see those two orange small orange there. Those are pedestrian bridges that's coming up in the next month or so. Just to show you what the bridge looks like, since somebody requested, the bridge is about 30 feet long, 6 foot wide, so 2 persons can use the bridge at the same time. It's gonna be wooden plank, wooden deck. It's gonna be above the 25-year peak storm flow. It's gonna be, when they say 25-year storm flow, it's more than what we've noticed last year. So this is higher. The bridge is gonna be built higher than that one. Next item is the other related projects update. Really called the solar PV update. There's city council has authorized or adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to execute the power purchase agreement with Peninsula Clean Energy, and that power purchase agreement is now executed. Coordinating the design with our construction team. So hopefully in the next update we will talk about the installation of the solar PV. City Parkway intersection, and City Parkway and Crystal Spring intersection. The design of that and basically all the bid documents that goes with it is now 90% complete. So we are now reviewing that. The schedule to get it out to bid this month, if not the following month, so we can hopefully award the construction by July of this year and complete and give them a notice to proceed by the same month in July. Hopefully complete that within the time period the route is also being completed. The next project is the Beckner Shelter Road. This is the project budget and the scope of the work included in the Beckner Shelter Road. We are adding the sidewalk access from Lara parking lot to City Parkway intersection. Full parking lot, ADA bridge that connects the full parking lot to the rock. We're also being added to this. Beckner Shelter Road rehabilitation as well. We have a budget of $350,000 to do that. And overall design and project management fee is estimated to be $150,000. So we allocated $950,000 for Beckner Shelter Road project. Just to kind of show you the scope of that work, the upper left photo number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 is basically the access towards the picnic area number 14. We're also gonna pave that. The other number 1 is the steps from the parking lot towards the picnic area number 14. We're gonna convert that to ADA accessible ramp down to picnic area 14. Number 2 and number 3 is a combination of work when we rehab the Beckner Shelter Road. Number 2 will have to restripe that area as well, back to the way it was. And number 4 is our obligation to update the path and the bridge once we touch the Beckner Shelter Road. So we have to construct a new path and a bridge that is ADA standard. And number 5 is the sidewalk. We're gonna replace the existing sidewalk to put back a standard width sidewalk that connects the Lara parking lot towards the intersection of City Parkway that leads them to the Rock Building. Next slide is the change order report. To date, we have 2,095,714 and change approved change order. Most of that coming from resolution of discrepancy in the design, unforeseen and unknown conditions. Those are the 2 major items that money is being spent on. The unforeseen and unknown conditions are mainly coming from disposal of contaminated soil. And the resolution and discrepancy in the design are mainly things that when projects get put together, we're trying to maintain the intent of the design, the code requirements, constructability, maintainability. Some changes had to be made, and that added some cost to the project. There's a long list of change orders. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I highlighted a few items that I'd like to share with you in a little bit more detail. As you can see, that's a total of 2,095,000. As I mentioned, that this is the approved change order today. It's going to go through quickly some of the items. In the beginning, like we have some large trees that we have to take down because it's next to the building, and it's next to the building, and it's over matured, and we had to remove that to protect the building and the public. That cost us about $81,000 at the beginning. Same time, we actually placed this load adjustment for code compliance. Some of the we had to add additional structural elements to maintain or complete or to meet the code requirements, and that cost us $207,000. To go along with that is the main frames of the building. The structural revisions required us to have additional fabrication time and labor. That cost us $336,000. If you recall, there's the 10-inch water line that we have to install temporarily through labor, the existing water line to maintain service to the neighborhood, at the same time maintaining the fire pressure requirement to the neighborhood. That cost us $210,000. Two more items on this, and the creek extension. The temporary creek diversion required us to meet some of the permit requirements to extend to the section C, also to keep to maintain capacity throughout the creek, and that cost us $282,000. Lastly, for the approved change order, when we start digging for the wall against the crystal spring, the foundation, some of the grading, all that surplus soil was found to have a high level of pesticide and petroleum, and it had to be disposed of special dump site. That cost us $447,000 today. And there are more coming that we have to dispose. Here's some of the potential change orders. Potential change orders are submitted, identified, under review, under negotiation, that projected all the way to July 2023. We're looking at it to be about $618,000. And if you add the contaminated soil that we have to dispose, there's another $400,000 to dispose. So that's over $1 million of projected anticipated change order. Just to share with you some of the costs of potential change order. Just gonna go through 6 of them, the truss and generator enclosure revisions. To accommodate the new generator, we have to modify the walls and the roofs, to meet some of the aesthetic planning requirements. There's the restroom downstairs, the CMU wall had to be converted to a stud wall, so we could accommodate some of the plumbing fixtures and pipings. The CMU wall and make it more structurally stable. The second floor, there's access control issues that we discovered. There's an elevator in the first floor that anybody use can go up to the second floor. We realized there is no control up at the second floor, so the team decided to put in a storefront with the door and a card reader as our control to the second floor. That costs $6,000 to $8,000. Road construction, road reconstruction. There's a portion of the road that we went over 20 feet deep, putting water and sewer, and the whole road has to be really upside down. Had to be reconstructed, and that cost us $60,000. Mechanical roof curbs and housekeeping pads. So some of the new equipment that are coming in, we realize we need the roof curbs and housekeeping pads to adequately support those equipment. That's cost us about $100,000. And lastly, contaminated soil again. We are projecting 3,300 yards to be disposed. Once we start digging the pool, the waiting pool, the outdoor pool, that's about 3,300 yards to dispose of. That's about going to cost us $400,000. And we're still looking for a place to dispose that on a cheaper, much cheaper fee, if they can take it. If not, we will be going on the same side. With all that, the project budget, we're still working on the current approved budget of $60,540,228. That's the combination of the 3 columns, the soft cost, the construction cost, the project contingency. We're about $36,814,427 and change spent. That's about 60% of the budget. That's the total of all the oranges and the blue. The blue is the expenses before construction starts. The oranges are expenses after the construction start. The soft cost includes all the items underneath that on the bottom right, that from design fees, project management fees, including the lot of parking lot, the traffic signal, and as well as the additional crystal spring tree removal that we're working on right now is also the soft cost. The additional crystal spring tree removal, $201,000 was taken from the project contingency, if you recall. The city council approved that. That's why our project contingency is now $3,445,990. And the construction cost is basically the contract with the general contractor doing the rock right now. It's $43,031,000. We are about 58% complete at this time. So that's equivalent to what they can bill us. Just to show a relationship how the funding sources and the project budget is being allocated. You could see there's 2 major funding sources we have. San Bruno Community Funds and the non-San Bruno Community Funds, or we call it city funds. San Bruno Community Foundation funds, $50 million, funded a portion of the soft costs and parts or majority of the construction costs. And the soft cost is funded by a combination of the grant 1 to 7, measure A, and the gas tax, and a little bit of money from YouTube, PG&E, city funds, and other funds. And the grant 8 is 94% funding the construction cost of about 43,031,000. So that's, as you can see, the project contingency is all coming from the city funds, which is the water, sewer, YouTube, PG&E, city funds, and the Crestmore leftover funds. I think that's what I wanted to spend time on it, so. Just to give you some dollar value on the funding sources and project budget updates and expenditures. We started with the, look at my slide so I can see it. We started with a 59,990,000 budget back in June 2021. That included all the San Bruno Community Foundation funds, Park and Lou, and all the other funds listed in there. And then we amended the budget. We added $560,000. That brought us to $60,550,000 for fund sources. And the City Council, March 28th, approved the transfer of general funds, the capital reserve funds to support the Beckner shelter of $250,000. And today's meeting, we are asking to transfer additional funds from the San Bruno Community Foundation for $1.5 million. Expenditures on the other side, just to show a comparison. The initial adopted projects component has a total of $54 million, which include the initial, the design and pre-construction costs, the building construction, relocation of memorial structure, the Lauderdale parking lot, the Rotary Pavilion concrete pad and electrical work, the traffic signal is part of it, and City Parkway road alignment is part of that. There's a $54 million right there from the initial adaptation of the project. And then we added the connected project, that is the water and sewer, that has a $1.5 million. With the approved change order, the anticipated change order, and the tree removal, we also spent $3.3 million out of the city funds. And we added some of the scope that's related to the project, the DeSoto sidewalk, if you recall. And now we're adding the Breckner Shelter Road, that's also being funded by city funds. That's $1,013,000. With the current contingency balance projected to be $600,000 after all that deducted, we are asking a new contingency request of $1.5 million to help construct the route project. That would bring our budget up to $62,290,200. Just to show the history and summary of the project contingency, we started off with back in June 8th. That's an incorrect date. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. We have an approved contingency of $4.637 and $46. That was 10.89% of the construction contract. And then City Council approved the transfer of funds from contingency to the soft cost of $1,039,000. That dropped our contingency down to 8.48. And then back in January 24 for the tree removal, the council also approved to transfer $201,600 to drop it down to 8%. So we are currently working with an approved change order, approved contingency of $3,445,990. With the approved change order, we're down to 3.14%. And the potential change order and we will be dropped down to 1.41%, which is 4% of the remaining work. With the 1.5 million added to it, will bring our contingency back up to 4.89% of the construction contract, which is about 40% of the remaining work. Will give us a more comfortable cushion. And all in all, when that added, we basically brought the contingency back up from 10.89 to 11.49. There's only a 0.6% difference from where it was to where we are now. Just give an outlook where we are on the project. get a feel of where we are. Looking at the scope on the right side, we're 58% complete. We got a lot of work done. I mean, that's the road is complete. That's the major item. We got the main building. We got the major foundation. We almost enclosed the project. If not the rain. If we had no rain, it would have been the walls are cold. We are much better looking building. But we're not too bad. We hope the rain stop this spring. If the rain continues to overspill in the spring, some of the work scheduled in spring will now go to summer. And you can see our schedule. We got summer and fall to complete all this work. And we don't want to squish that summer and fall down to that. So that's where the risk is at this point. If the rain continues, we'll have problems. If there's no rain, we hope we can recover our schedule. And hopefully, as I mentioned here, we could be commissioning by late fall or worst, or by winter. That's the worst case, and we could even plan our dedication as well by that time. If rain really stops. So with the current contingency, we are 52% spent, with 42% work remaining. If we don't add the 1.5 million, we'll be 83% and spend contingency by July, and we'll be working with 17% contingency with 15 million worth of work to do. Having the 1.5 million, we'll have a comfortable cushion moving forward and get the work done, complete, close out. Just some of the key takeaways. Construction contingency was approved with the regional contingency of 4.687 and 46, which is 10.89%. City Council approved the transfer of some money of 1.241 billion from the construction contingency to the other project expenses. That drops us down to, and all the projected change order now will drop us down to $605,000 by July, which is going to be 4% of the remaining work. And typically you want to maintain 10 to 15% percentage of the remaining work moving forward. With 1.5 million added in the contingency, will ensure adequate funding with any unforeseen work and avoid scheduled delays if we experience that. And lastly, this is not to exceed request for contingency. The city may need to use the full contingency, in which case foundation would not need to pay out full amount, but to provide city appropriate cushion in the event of unexpected costs, and will eliminate construction delay due to need to secure additional funds. It's the last slide. So this meeting is, we'd like to request San Bruno Community Foundation to amend the San Bruno Community Grant Fund Agreement to increase the construction contingency grant, the construction grant number 8 by 1.5 million, from $40,464,454.15 to a not to exceed amount $41,964,454.15. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for any questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
Through the chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was very informative. Just for just some clarification, it's like you mentioned about the key takeaways about best practices. Where does that come from? And then my other two questions is, what's the likelihood that, potentially you come back to like the board, the foundation, to ask for like another contingency fund because the last contingency fund got depleted and it's outside that threshold of the 10 to 15%. And then I'm just curious as well, like the last question was regarding about one of the potential change orders. You mentioned about adding the storefront at the second floor and the access control. And do you anticipate any other kind of similar like kind of potential change orders in that kind of aspects of like the access control, like the second floor, any other kind of like implementations or different kind of like controls of accessibilities and so forth for the rack.
Hi, good evening, President Tony Jones and members of the board. My name is Matt Lee. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of San Bruno. It's a pleasure to meet you guys finally in person. I'm sure we know it's a couple of times. And so I wanted to kind of just answer the questions through the chair, through the president. It was a long presentation, so appreciate that you guys kind of sat through it, and I appreciate the questions. I think for the first question, if I recall correctly, you're asking where did the best practices of 10 to 15% come from? Yeah. So within our industry, for different types of construction, and through the typical design bid build process for a structure of this size, that's generally the range that the industry puts for construction buildings, just because as you can see in the presentation when Rod was talking about change orders, a lot of it comes from kind of unforeseen conditions or the other larger category for that. Yeah, with the design efforts. And so that's pretty typical of what it is. I know there's a lot of numbers kind of thrown at you, but really what we were trying to do is to maintain that 14 to 50% throughout the course of the project so that we can keep the project moving if anything comes up. I think your second question, if I can recall, well, actually, let's go to the third one. I think you were talking about the change order for the card reader space.
Yeah.
So that was actually identified because it was part of an operational effort where I believe they realized that that was an area for staff only. And because this is an open 24-hour facility, during the design effort, they obviously didn't consider that at that point. But as we went through it and we looked at how the operation would work, we wanted to have it so it would be a staff only area. And so that's why the card reader was there. In terms of potentially applying it elsewhere, I think we kind of went through that analysis at the moment when we went through that change order. I don't foresee us adding it to any other spots in that sense. So I don't, unless the operation changes, I think that it'll stay there. The change order itself is to capture all the changes that need to be done in order to have that area work. So that's the cost for the readers in that area. I think you also asked the larger question of, what is the likelihood of us coming back for 1.5, an additional $1.5 million for contingency? My response is, I hope that the answer is we won't, right? I don't think anyone wants to come and ask for additional funds. So I think the challenge with contingency is it's always a balance with risk. You obviously want to have enough money so you can finish it through. If you're short, there's always a challenge of it delaying the work. I hope as through the presentation, when we talked about the change orders and the potential change orders, it gives you a sense that we actually, Rob's job and his team and the construction management team, we actually vet all these change orders significantly. I mean, they're just not a line on the page. There's many discussions around it. There's value engineering that is done to ensure that the work is necessary and that it is as cost effective as possible. And so, as we went and determined the dollar amount of 1.5 million, we had a conversation with Leslie about kind of hopefully being able to come back once, right? And so that's what the dollar amount kind of represents. And I hope that, as we talk through the percentages, you can see we're really just trying to bring it back up to the 15% threshold. I think it ends up around 14. Yeah, just to make sure that we have just enough so they can go through and that. And so I would say, barring any additional unforeseen conditions or a further delayed schedule with significant rain, our hope is that we can make the project all the way through with the contingency amount we currently have. Thank you.
The chair. One of the major line items has to do with movement of the contaminated soil and excavation of the pool. To what extent is that 400,000 reliable? Just given that, and I know nothing about construction, so but I imagine you have to dig deeper. than you had to. And so is there, and that, is there some concern as to what you may find having to dig deeper?
Yeah, so, that's a really good question. For contaminated soil, usually when we, do exploratory work and we design a project, the geotech engineer comes out and actually potholes the area and tries to look to see if there's, what type of soil is underground, if we're hitting bedrock, or if the soil is contaminated. And so they do their best guess through the potholes of what that might be. And typically, and why we need contingency, because of the way we're contracting this project out, the owner is the one that bears the design and then the responsibility for construction. And so the engineers do their best guess at what type of soil is there. But as you discovered as we go through construction and we dig it, the soil could be just, I guess you would call it dirty soil. Dirty soil, if you get into a technical term, can come into multiple classes of dirty soil. There's like class 1, class 2, class 3, and they have various ways of disposing. If it's just regular soil, you can easily recompact it somewhere else or do something like that. If it's a particular class that's not as quote unquote dirty, you can actually just dig it out and let it sit and kind of correct itself by letting it just have some air time. I think for us, the challenge was as we took the soil out and we tested it, which is a required process for us when we do soil removal. It was soil that was dirty enough that we could not do any of those things, and it had to go to a dedicated site because of the type of soil that it is. And so that's not soil we want to keep in our community. We want to really dispose of it properly. And so that's the added cost. It's not necessarily really digging deeper. We know how deep the pool is kind of going to be. And if there is bad soil, we may go beyond that, but I believe, well, correct me if I'm wrong, this soil, we just, as long as we don't expose the additional one, we don't actually need to go any deeper. We're just digging the soil that we have. And so that 400,000 is kind of coming from the volumetric estimate for the pool itself, where we need to excavate. And so where, I think there's a portion of it, the soil, dirty soil was from the original wall, the retaining wall. That was one of the 400,000. And then we had the upcoming potential change orders. And that amount of 400,000 is our current estimate. We're currently in negotiation with the contractors to see what the price is. So that amount is kind of a projection at the moment, but that's, we're obviously using a conservative number because in order for us to project out our contingency, that's what we're doing. So we're hopeful that we could negotiate that down.
I think the other question, she's got it. We're digging, you think we might dig something else.
Yeah.
Than the contaminated, so, right? Yeah, I think we did some exploratory bore already, so we know what we're getting at. We're not foreseeing any big boulders that we're gonna have to be dumping out, things like that, so it's just gonna be just soil based.
Got it, and then, thank you. And then the Tracy site, is that still up in the air? And if that the soil isn't accepted there, is that going to create additional costs because we have to dump further or? And I'm not.
No, that's a very good question. That's predetermined site already to dump it. That is the most expensive site to dump it, but basically that's the only site that's accepting our soil. So right now we're trying to find a home for it that they can take it. This is the level of contamination. Can you reuse it? So we're talking to a lot of people, see if they can use it. Just if you want to just fill a hole, you can use this with a good filler. So far we can't find anyone who will accept it. So at this point we are going with Tracy, and that's the most expensive way to do it.
Great, thank you.
One more question, sorry. Thank you for a very detailed report. I really appreciate it. One thing I was hoping to see or update on is the creek. So I know with the rains that we had, it was a perfect storm really. I mean, to really test out how the creek was going to move through the park. So just wanted to see if we had a quick update as to are we ready again with this current configuration with the way the creek is set, or is there a future work that needs to be done in order to maintain the water and move it through one part of the park to the next?
So, yeah, this spring, the designer have looked at the impact of the rain. They recommended repair, there's really no change in the configuration. We're gonna add more rock before we start landscaping. I think the reason some of the rock moved because the whole area is not established yet and we got that heavy rain. And a lot of those voids, the water goes through it and you just push the rock out of the position. So what we're gonna do to come back is to add more rock to get more stability on the side of the creek bank. And complete our landscaping, hopefully by winter time, all the plants has been established and everything is holding together by that time.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. You know, typically the rain comes after the construction when the contractor is gone. And then you see what's not working and you gotta get them to come back. I think one of the blessing in disguise is we had one of the heaviest rains we ever had. I think they cited like 500 years, right? And so the creek held up as best as it could. It was working as designed. So we made sure we were monitoring that during the area. And like Rod said, there were a couple of things because of the flow of the water that kind of moved the boulders and stuff. And so we are going to go back and kind of retouch up the creek itself.
Thank you very much.
To the chair, just for clarification, I may have missed it. From the list of potential change orders, are those already in progress or are you in negotiation for all of them?
Yes, so that's a good question. And so to clarify, change orders, the way we've listed it, change orders are the ones that are already in progress, negotiated, executed, and we're in the process of going through construction. The potential change orders are just that. They're potential because the contractor or the designer or the construction management team has identified an additional change needed for the construction contract. And so they're in various stages of either negotiation or investigation. And so they are not executed yet, and that's why they're in the potential mark. There are items that sometimes those potential change orders may not materialize because we come up with a value engineered solution that can resolve that conflict. And so, but in order for us to be good stewards of the project and the project budget, we need to make sure we track those so that we can identify when in advance. Some of these potential change orders aren't things that we need to do now. It could be 6 months from now. And so that's what we're tracking. So that's the way Rod and his team have been managing the project.
And then I have one more question is about the 1.5 or the 14% contingency. It's sounding like is this for a comfort to have that buffer? Or were you thinking that there are elements that you are anticipating might need that 1.5?
Let me address that one, because that's a really great question. As the team has said, one of the things we wanted to make sure of is that if we come once. But there's still some risks, right? And if the rains continue, that may delay the project further. I'll tell you that the first time that the team came to me, the number was a little smaller. And it was, I think we can get by with about 750,000. And so my question was, okay, what's industry standard best practice and what do we really need? And so that's why you have the number of 1.5 before you. We won't spend the money if it's not needed. And it's important to note that we're at a point in the project where we're going to be getting to completion really fast. And it's at least an 8-step process before we're here tonight asking for additional funds. The project manager needs to do their analysis and realize it. They tell the public works director, he does the review. Then they tell the person sitting in my seat, the city manager. And then we begin some informal communications. And then we go to the Park and Rec Commission, the RAC advisory committee, the city council, and then the foundation. And so as we're sort of nearing completion, we're not going to have the time. And so from the executive seat, I thought it was important that we make a request that was more in line with having enough funds that if we do hit something, we cannot have to pause construction to come back and get an additional contingency funds, but we absolutely have what we think we need, and we're aligning with having that roughly 14% of remaining work in contingency. I also, if I can, I want to go back to Mr. Gomez. question about, why am I drawing a blank? The creek. So one of the things that Rod mentioned to the city council is that in a 50-year flood, which is essentially what we had happen, you would see likely water spilling over into the roadway. And so one of the reasons why we have that is that construction wasn't complete. There were actually retention areas that water didn't go into because the construction was still ongoing. And so I think for the community, and we've heard some questions from residents saying, hey, the roadway flooded, should you sort of change and reset now? I think when we look back at the design documents, on a 50-year flood, you may have some water on the roadway. And also, one of the things that we had happen is a lot of the batting or temporary material actually went down the creek and plugged the inlet that really caused the backup. And so the flooding we saw was really based on sort of unique circumstances and the creek not being fully constructed. And so I know that the engineers went back and looked at it, and the conclusion was we don't need to sort of hit a pause and potentially re-engineer what's been designed. We should recognize that it was really a unique circumstance.
Thank you for the additional information. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
Yes, we do have Charles Meyer.
You, President, board members, thank you very much for the opportunity to allow me to talk. And what I bring is my experience, having been in the facilities maintenance business for 30 years, 20 of those at San Francisco General Hospital, having been intimately involved with projects on all levels of the hospital, from the changing the phone system to renovating operating rooms. And then 10 years at San Francisco State University, where I got a higher level overview of large projects. And why I wanted to speak in support of this request for the additional money, because this project is really gaining steam now. It appears from the presentations from the professionals here that they're very concentrated on their due diligence and spending public funds. And then also on the board here, that the process has set up some pretty strong guardrails that those funds can only be used for construction. Because on the day that it opens and all the days thereafter, any lack of full support of excellent construction is going to have repercussions that the city is going to have to deal with in the years and months and whatnot ahead. And this is a singular opportunity for the board to help the city make another jewel for the city of San Bruno. And we'd like to see that I don't want to call it a phoenix because it didn't burn down, but from the result of some of the funds we got from the flames and smoke that I could see from my own yard back in 2010, I just want to speak in support of this change order request. And that from what I've heard and what I've seen, everyone is doing a proper professional job in trying to control costs and result in an excellent rec facility that will outlive us all here in San Bruno. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public? Anything on Zoom?
Don't see anything else on Zoom.
So we have a resolution before the board to increase strategic grant funding to the city of San Bruno for construction of the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center project by an amount not to exceed $1.5 million. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Second.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Secretary Gomez, for a roll call vote, please.
Board Member Irving Torres. Aye. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pack Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All counted.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number B, receive report on Community Day 2023 from the city of San Bruno. Since 2016, the foundation has been the city's lead funding partner on the annual Community Day event. For 2023, the foundation has approved a 30,000 strategic grant to support this year's event. And a slight change from what was in the board meeting packet, either City Manager Javon Brogan or Community Services Director Ann Mottola will give an update from the city. Thank you, Javon.
Thank you, President Natani. Javon Grogan, City Manager, here for the very last time. Thank you for the $30,000 grant both last year in 22 and the grant this year in 23. We are truly excited about Community Day and it is, last year we pivoted and did it downtown. I think by all accounts, it was a wonderful event and a wonderful event in our downtown. And the plan has been to have Community Day downtown because the park is not available for such a large event due to the construction of the rack. Here to give an update to the board that we have received a request from the San Bruno Alliance to not have Community Day on the same day as the Fulton Parade, which would ordinarily occur on June 4th, under the guise that it may take away participation for the end of the Fulton Parade, which has been at the San Bruno City Park historically, as it was last year, and it will be. And so we had a big meeting earlier or last week, and in partnership, city staff has agreed to explore another day for Community Day. And so we are currently looking at another day for Community Day, where it is not on the exact same day as the Fulton Parade, which will be June 4th. And so the date is a little TBD right now because that meeting, I believe, was Thursday or Friday last week.
Yeah, last week.
And so we are currently working to look at both the calendar as well as staff scheduling and workload to determine when we can hold Community Day in 2023.
Great. Are there any questions from the board? With the update? Any questions from the public? Anything on Zoom?
No.
Okay. So thank you, Javon. Leslie will work with the city staff to make any necessary amendments to the grant agreement to accommodate a new date for Community Day, and we'll report back to the board. Excellent. Item C. Receive report on other programs, Crestmore Scholarship, Community Grants Fund, and other strategic grants. I'll turn the time over to Executive Director Javier.
Thank you. Let me just get slides up. So I wanted to report on some of our other programs tonight. First up is, and why is this not going to? There we go. The Crestmore Neighborhood Memorial Scholarship. We received 69 applications for the 2023 Crestmore Scholarship by the March 7th deadline, which was an increase from last year and more up to pre-pandemic levels. We had seen a drop over the pandemic. A volunteer selection panel is currently in the process of evaluating the applications, and we expect to notify applicants of the results of the selection process before the end of April. The scholarship recipients will be recognized at our June 7th meeting, and we'll get to meet them and their families all in person. This year, we plan to distribute scholarships totaling $160,000. Next, I wanted to give you a little update on our community grants. For the current cycle, the 2022-23 cycle, as you know, we gave out 23 community grants totaling $300,000. And in March, we completed our last 4 grant check presentations and have distributed all of them now for all 23 grants. So thank you to the board for participating in those distributions, both virtually and in person. We got to transition to some in-person ones. Just wanted to share a few with you. Here, President Natani Jones did a virtual presentation of the San Bruno Education Foundation for the Parkside Mural Project. Next one, we have Vice President Ruane meeting in person with the San Bruno Amateur Radio Club for a grant that will be supporting upgraded radio communications in the EOC and throughout the city to help in the event of an emergency. We have Secretary Gomez distributing a check to the Lowen Soccer Club. The youth club soccer club in San Bruno for field renovations. Was our first in-person presentation in 3 years. And we also have Treasurer Lynn doing a virtual presentation to an in-person board meeting at Via Heart Project. And actually, grant is in part to put AEDs in the community, as well as provide AED and CPR training to all 7th graders at Parkside Intermediate School. The bulk of that training took place actually yesterday, and our program manager visited on site with that training. And so you see the photo of the trainer and some San Bruno Fire Department members who were participating in the training with the 7th graders. One of the great things from this grant we have supported over several years is that generations of middle school students in San Bruno are getting that CPR training. So we are getting the youth trained to be able to help in the event of a heart attack or some other CPR incidents. And we also just received grant reports from most of the grantees who we gave in the previous cycle. So in 2021, we approved 23 community grants, again, totaling $300,000 for the 21-22 cycle. And just wanted to share with you a few of the highlights from those grant reports. So Art in Action, which aims to provide support to schools, teachers, and students to ensure some degree of normalcy and stability during this unsettling time by providing arts programming to students in San Bruno. They aim to ignite children's imaginations to become innovators, creators, and leaders of tomorrow, while bolstering the ever-critical social-emotional skills of our community's children. According to Matt Duffy, the superintendent for the San Bruno Park School District, quote, aiding Art in Action's visual arts curriculum together with their training, guidance, and partnership and strategies for successful program implementation will enhance the quality of education we are providing. Arts education plays a critical role in students' lives. With the $22,000 grant we gave out, Art in Action successfully delivered visual arts programs to all classrooms at Bel Air Elementary School and Ellen Elementary School. They provided their curriculum to a total of 23 classrooms, including kindergarten through the 5th grade, serving 626 students at the 2 Title I schools in the district. This year, we gave Art in Action another $22,000 grant to continue the art program at Bel Air and Allen, and also to expand it to the other 2 elementary schools that will be operating next year, Portola and John Muir. Quick update on our grant to the Cappuccino High School Alumni Association. We gave an $11,000 grant to launch their robotics club. The students did not have a robotics club prior to that. The club was created to introduce students to 3D printing, engineering, robotics, and coding. This was an open-ended opportunity for students to have access to tools and curriculum not otherwise available in their current Cappuccino High School class offerings. All of the projects were student chosen based on their interests, available resources, and space on campus. Prior to obtaining the grant from our foundation, the club, which was not actually even formally established, consisted of students teaching others about the basics of electronics using electronics out of their teacher's garage. Our grant made a huge difference. It allowed the club to build and code programmable, drivable drones in team groups, while also developing CAD skills that allowed the club members to utilize the 3D printer that they purchased with our grant funds. The club provides an outlet for current STEM-oriented students to learn new skills and refine existing ones, and it provides an important need as there are limited hands-on engineering programs available for these students. To date, more than 40 students have participated and learned from the robotics club, and they expect the number of students participating to increase each year. Here's a quote from one of the students who said, "Robotics club is a really fun, creative outlet for me, and the club has helped me learn basic computer engineering and programming skills through Arduino microcontrollers. This has been my first exposure to anything engineering related, and it's been a fun challenge working on a robotics project of my own, a robotic arm. I am currently working on getting the robotic components 3D printed, and grant funds have been committed to purchase motors to power my project. Also, I really value the community aspect of the club. I love sharing my ideas with and hearing ideas from others passionate about the club." That was just one quote. They provided actually several from different students expressing very similar enthusiasm for the new club. Another one is a $25,000 grant we gave to Peninsula Volunteers for their Meals on Wheels program. The goal of Meals on Wheels is to increase food security and to alleviate hunger in seniors and adults with disabilities through proper nutritional support and home delivered meals. Meal recipients are able to age in place, remaining as independent as possible while decreasing their need to access emergency services or be institutionalized. Over the course of the grant period, over 12,000 meals were provided to 66 San Bruno residents. Our grant funds went to the cost of making and packing the meals, with the total cost of each meal being $16.50. The grant was able to offset the cost of each meal served to San Bruno residents. One anecdote they shared with us about one of the recipients of the Meals on Wheels. Elaine has been a longtime Meals on Wheels client, but her reliance on the service has increased over the past year. Adjusting to the official loss of her license and her stability becoming more inconsistent, her trips outside the home were few and far between. According to her, receiving these meals helps to keep her out of a residential home and allows her to age in her own home where she has lived for over 50 years. She looks forward to visits from her meal delivery driver that they become a highlight of her week. She said, "It is hard to accept help when you are accustomed to a fiercely independent lifestyle." This example demonstrates the purpose of the program, supporting seniors throughout the unknown and ever-changing stages of aging and supporting their independence and dignity for as long as possible. So that's just some of the highlights from the last 2 years of our community grants. Could go on, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to move on to one of our other strategic grants with regard to the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project, which we're helping fund with a $500,000 grant to the city. The project continues in the construction documents phase. The project schedule has been pushed out 2 months as estimates for the city's review periods have been extended, and extra time was added to allow for the Planning Commission to review the project. That was something that wasn't anticipated in the initial schedule that they realized needed to take place. Under the revised timeline, construction is scheduled to begin in the fall of this year and conclude by the spring of 2023. And one last strategic grant. As you know, last fall, we awarded $35,000 to the San Bruno Park School District to support field trips and assemblies this school year. All 5 elementary schools and the Parkside Intermediate School have used a portion of their allocated funding for field trips and assemblies. Highlights include Bel Air Elementary School's visit to the San Francisco International Airport, where 3rd grade students toured many different aspects of airport operations. Parkside students have visited the Tech Museum in San Jose and the Exploratorium in San Francisco, with the next trip to the California Academy of Sciences planned. Students at Portola Elementary School will head to the San Francisco Giants Oracle Park to learn math, with more field trips by the various schools planned for the spring. Here are just some of the photos from Bel Air's visit to San Francisco International Airport, which they shared with us. So there's the whole group of third graders. They're in front of one of the jets. They're inside one of the storage areas. And they're looking out and celebrating near the runway. And that is my report on our other programs.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Are there any questions from the board?
No questions, but I believe for the Centennial Plaza project, the intended completion date is spring of 2024.
24, you're correct.
I'm only saying that, so
Yeah.
we don't need to come back and amend.
No, yes, that was a typo, 2024, you're correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Zoom?
Does not look like it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the report. We are moving on to item number 9. Board member comments. Would any board member like to make a comment? Okay, so I guess we move to item number 10, to adjourn. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. We are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the San Bruno Senior Center right here. But if you have no pressing business to conduct, we will cancel that meeting. Our June regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th at 7 p.m. Again, here at the Senior Center. That meeting will definitely take place, as well as we will be honoring our 2023 Press Corps Scholars.